Recording in progress.
On a time?
8:13.
13. We're back in open session. Number 9, consent action items. We have two, January the 13th, regular, and January the 27th, virtual. Questions on any of those?
The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the minutes of the board meetings held on January 13, 2025, regular board meeting, and January 27, 2025, special board meeting.
The motion. Motion by Tammy to approve the minutes of those two board meetings. Second. Second by Gabriel Espinosa. Questions, concern?
I have a question. Are we doing it kind of like a single action item for both?
Two.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, all in favor of the motion? Okay. Motion passes. We also have consent items for the approval of the monthly bills for January 2025. Madrones?
The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the monthly bills for January 2025 under consent action.
Okay, we have a motion, recommendation, we have a motion.
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Cruz, second. Second by Gil Espinosa. Questions, concerns? Not all in favor? Motion carries 0. Number 10, action item, discussion action to consider approval of the consulting agreement between Crystal City ISD and TNT for the network for the transformation. Andrew B. Kim and Michael Hinojosa.
The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the modified consulting agreement between Crystal City ISD and TNT, Together Network and Transformation, Andrew B. Kim and Michael Hinojosa, as discussed in close.
We have a motion to approve the contract.
I'll make it.
Motion by Peggy Ann, second by Sammy Houston. Questions, concern? Not all in favor? Okay, we're going to action item B, discussion to consider approval of the 1924-25 budget amendment. 25-1, budget amendment 25, that's 2 for debt services. And budget amendment 25 over the food service, shell nutrition, the first for the 24-25 fiscal year.
And Mr. Solomon will be presenting the amendments.
Are these the most updated to these?
I believe if the inserts that Anna had.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just wanted to spend a few minutes and go through sort of where we're at, how we got here, and discuss the budget amendments, because I know you guys have seen or been talked about a lot of numbers tonight, but I think this is important that we just go through this and so that you fully understand what we're proposing tonight. So I'm going to go through and go through a couple of things. This, I know it's hard to see, but this was the adopted budget back in August. It's about $27 million. It was a fully balanced budget. It's a combined budget, as we've discussed, that includes the general fund, the debt service fund, and the food service fund. So one of the first things we did was split it into 3 different funds so that we could see what the funding was for each. And once we just split out, again, this was the original adopted budget. A slight gain in child nutrition is the numbers that came out of this. a balanced budget for debt service and a slight deficit for the general fund. So again, you can see this is those were the totals at the bottom. So that was the general fund, that was debt service, and 187 for the child nutrition fund. This is a comparison, and I think you guys have a full page copy of this, which compares the adopted budget to what we're looking at, to the what happened last year. So you can see where the difference is. So I pulled out just the adopted general fund with $187,000 loss deficit and compared it to the numbers that came out of the audit from last month, showing an over $9 million loss. And we're going to keep referring back to 23, 24 because we don't want to get too far away from these numbers. So I just want to, just so we can see them really big and everyone can see what we're looking at. This is the sort of the high level view in which the budget that was adopted had almost $22 million in revenue. Last year was about 18. It's a $3.7 million difference. Basically, more money being projected than we had last year. Again, this is the adopted budget from last August. And on the expenditure side, showing this year $5 million less of expenditures. And that just, here's the different areas divided up, just taking, again, a comparison between the adopted budget from August and last year. You can see this shows that there was $1 million expected to be expended less in instruction and almost $1 million less in instructional support. In administration and district operations, you can see dropping plant maintenance and operations by over $3 million and general administration by close to by 750,000. These numbers are relatively similar. So now I want to get to the budget amendments. And I'm going to go in reverse order. We numbered all of them, but I'm going to go in the reverse order because these are the simpler ones. Both the Child Nutrition Fund and the Debt Service Fund only have basically one line of revenue and one line of expense. And so for the budget amendment, we're projecting, and we may need to come back later on in the year with a budget amendment to this amendment, but at this point projecting that this $1.4 million is what we will have in revenue and that we'll be able to keep within that budget. And so this would be a balanced budget for child nutrition. Next, I want to go into debt service. For debt service, we know based on the tax rate, we should have about $4.7 million, which is over $1 million more than what was in the originally adopted budget. And this is the sum of the principal and interest debt service payments that we owe. So we should have about a $900,000 surplus just in debt service. And sort of as a side note, I know we borrowed money from INS, but we are currently sitting on almost $4.4 million in the bank today in our debt service fund, which is more than enough to service the debt for this year, the debt obligations. Last, I want to go to the budget amendment 2501, which is for the general fund, but I want to show you a little bit more information. Again, high level view of this. We're going to take a look at, this was the adopted budget numbers I was showing you before with $187,000 loss. This is now showing a $1.6 million loss in this budget amendment, and we can see the comparison to last year. Going into the different areas, instruction and instructional support, you can see we've adjusted down. Ms. Briones has done a lot of work in terms of we've taken a look not only at through actions the board has taken in terms of personnel, but also in terms of the other material and contractual costs to try and reduce everything. We've gotten the budget down, this projected budget down to almost $10 million, which is almost a $2.2 million difference. We do understand last year we spent $13 million in this area. So that's an almost $3 million difference. But again, we've looked at this. We believe we have really good numbers on this, and that we'll be able to come in and deliver to number in the neighborhood of that $10.1 million. Instructional resources and media, the budget's only $1,000 because all of the staff and everything are all currently being paid for through grants. So nothing is in the local budget. Last year, not everybody was there. There was personnel costs and other things in here, and that's why there's such a dramatic difference. But there's just a small amount here that's coming out of the local budget. It doesn't mean we're not going to have any library materials and library personnel. It's just within the local budget and the general budget, very little is there. Same with staff development, just a small amount in terms of staff development coming out of local. Same goes with instructional leadership. Instructional leadership is leadership that is in central office that is paid through local. A lot of this has been pushed into grants. And so we've only had a small amount, which is just some materials as well as some materials and support stuff. This is a bigger number, school leadership. So this is your leadership at your campuses. The original number was 1.1. We're now at almost 1.4. Last year, it was a little under $1.3 million. So you realize we're spending more here, but we've managed, we're confident that we've captured all of the personnel. So that's when you go on campus, it's everybody you see in the office who's not, and some of them are still being paid through grants, but it's your principal, it's the receptionist or the person who is the secretary or administrative assistant to the principal, PEAM staff, attendance clerks, all of that type of personnel. Next is guidance and counseling. This 291 number was really low and didn't capture everybody. You can see last year we were at 566. There's a few more people there now. We've got everything captured and we're at $672,000. Similar type of story with social work, that we're close numerically to where we were last year as to the budget, but we've just right-sized this just a small amount, and the same in the nursing staff. We've right-sized everything here. And lastly, co-curricular, extracurricular, this is mostly athletic related support. There's a small amount of salary in here. You've got our athletic director is in here, and there are some athletic stipends. But most of this is things like equipment and travel for our sports teams. And we've gone through this obviously with a fine-tooth comb, dropped this by $300,000 from where the original budget was. It's $800,000 less than we spent last year. But we believe this is a realistic number. And we've gone through this and have it on a line-by-line basis. Jumping next, general administration. The budget of a little over $1 million was insufficient to cover what we had. We were almost 1.8 last year. So we've managed to bring this number down almost $350,000 from where we were last year. Have data to back up all of this. We know all of the personnel that's included in this. The $1,040,000 wasn't going to cover everything. Jumping down into district operations, I've harped on it a bunch that we knew the $985,000 number was just a bad number from the get-go. We're looking at a number almost $2.9 million, which is a lot. However, it's $1.2 million less than what we actually spent last year. So again, gone through this very closely, looked at all of the costs, looked at personnel, have everybody lined up in the right place, and we believe that 2.8 is a good number for the district in terms of plant maintenance and operations. There is money in here to fix things as they break. Always very cautious to make sure that we don't cut more money than you can afford, because the reality is if you start slashing away repair and maintenance budgets and you get into April, May, and June and things break and you don't have budget for it, you're still going to have to repair it. You can't leave things unrepaired. In security and monitoring, it was a matter of right-sizing things. Spent $798 last year. We're at $794 this year. $600,000 was just not enough money to cover all of the police officers and all of our security costs. Data processing, we're falling somewhere in between this original budget of 630 and the $958,000 we spent last year. We've gone through this and picked a little bit at it and ended up at $736,000. Transportation pretty much right in line. I think this number is a little bit lower because there's at least one bus driver who had resigned, and we just chose not to fill that position. Lastly, going into this last section, there's really nothing in the debt service because all the debt service stuff has been pushed into the debt service budget. Things that are of note, all the community service stuff has been pushed into grant. Facilities and acquisition, this $1.8 million was an approximation that included that we were going to spend some of the money we spent last year again this year. There were just different projects that the district did last year that we weren't going to do this year. So last year we spent $665,000. Honestly, from year to year, there really is no relation. You need to know what you're spending money on. So in this $425,000, we have all the fencing stuff that we're doing, less a safety grant that we were awarded, and then some monies to pay for some of the remaining monies that we owe for the repair or the redo of the football stadium turf. The only other thing that's of note, this is actually the cost for the Central Appraisal District. We know what the costs are, so this is just a real number. So this is just being right-sized. So overall, this is what we're taking a look. This is the overall budget for everything all put together. And if you have any questions about anything, I'm happy to go back and go through anything.
No?
Any questions from anybody? I mean, I still have to look at it again and.
I know it's a lot of numbers, and you've already seen a lot of numbers tonight. But we're asking to just take the single budget that was adopted back in August and turn it into 3 separate individual budgets for each of the funds. And in the future, if we need to adjust any one of them, we would just bring a single budget amendment for that fund.
Any questions to me?
No.
Gable, Peggy, Bruce, Adonis? We don't have any questions, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Solomon.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah. Okay,
Gonna make the-
discussion action to consider approval of the 24-25 budget amendments.
The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the budget amendments as presented. Budget Amendment 25-01 for 24-25 fiscal year. Budget Amendment 25-02 for debt service. Budget Amendment 25-03 for food service, child nutrition fund.
We have a motion. Motion by Mr. Mata, second. Second by Gabriel Espinosa. Questions, concerns? Not all in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Item C, discussion action to consider approval of the Crystal City ISD Cholula Constitution. Adonis?
At this moment, I'm going to ask Ms. Fuente to come to the podium. These are recommendations that high school is presenting on behalf of the cheerleading squad. You have in your packet the recommendations, and if approved, we will move to final packet.
I review them or?
Beginning on page 2.
On page 2, we added if a candidate decides to decline membership and quit the varsity, JV, or SF junior high squad, the candidate will be ineligible to try out for the following school year. On page 3, we changed the 1-year experience to 2 years experience, cheering at Crystal City High School as a varsity cheerleader as a criteria for captain or co-captain. On page 4, we specified what sports. So instead of just putting all varsity sports, we put football, basketball, and all designated events deemed appropriate by the sponsor. And also for the JV and the junior high. Oh, I'm sorry, the junior high is football games and all designated events deemed appropriate by the sponsor. And then on page 7, documentation must be provided to sponsor if extenuating circumstances arise that they don't attend one of the events. If they don't attend one of the events. And that's it. Those are all the changes.
Ms. Fuente, just going back to page 2, you are requesting that the number of squad being increased to 16 from?
Yes, I'm sorry, yes. Instead of 15, it'll be 16 cheerleaders.
Why don't you cut it to 8?
Monday,
Why don't you cut it to 8 like before?
cut it to 8 cheerleaders? I don't know, I just sat with the cheer sponsor and she recommended 16 because of their stunts and they needed like an even number. So, she recommended 16. I did meet with the cheer sponsor. These are not just me recommending them.
On page 3, I mean, I have a question of concern, very at the top. It says for junior high varsity, 1-year experience cheerleading in Crystal City High School. So, if they don't have any experience at all, they can try out.
No, they can. It's just for the captain position or the co-captain
Right.
for the JV.
And also for the varsity, 2 years of experience cheering at Crystal City High School as a varsity cheerleader.
Yes, they can try out. It would be instead of 1-year experience, 2 years experience to be captain or co-captain.
And that's right, I need. So if a freshman tries out and they make it for varsity, it's good.
Yes,
That's for the
team.
Captain and co-captain.
Captain, co-captain.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it means that like freshmen and sophomores couldn't, but it's just for that.
Yes.
Freshmen.
Who's your sponsor?
Jasmine Warren.
Just remind them to carry the physical forms at all times, because if somebody gets hurt out of town, they might not accept them into the hospital.
Okay.
Unless they have the physical.
Forms.
Thank you.
It mentioned somewhere here, that for all varsity cheerleaders must attend, playoff games. I mean, will it be for every sport?
It'll be for football, basketball, and all designated events deemed appropriate by the sponsor. So like if the sponsor says, we have a playoff game coming up, we're gonna go to the playoff game. That's one of the ones that's deemed appropriate by the sponsor.
So it could be football, baseball,
Football, basketball, or any other event.
and what if they continue playing, I mean, in regionals and all that? They would be included to go and travel.
Yes, if they have money for travel. Yes, but yes, we want them to participate in everything they can, as much as possible. Yeah, and they also, other events that they go to are like the smaller schools where they go and do events for attendance and things like that, or reading to the kids and stuff.
Is there any, and for the cheerleaders, what does the school district help them with as far as money? When they go to the camp in the summer, who pays for that?
Coach Battle meets with the sponsors and they work on their budget
On budget. So we will give them something,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
gonna go
for both junior high and high school
for it,
sports.
but the uniforms comes from the,
Fundraising, I think.
from the girls themselves.
Yes, they do fundraisers.
When are your tryouts?
If it's approved, March 5th, I believe.
Okay.
And,
100%, but I'm pretty sure it's March 5th.
and
We have a parent.
when are you gonna meet with the sponsor to see if it's approved or not?
The Constitution, well, if you guys approve it, we'll clean it up. We're gonna have a parent meeting on the 13th of February. Wait, yeah, 13th.
And you just emphasize, I mean, with them, that if they're making fundraisers, it's not because the school is broke, it's because of extra things, because I saw some tickets or posting in Facebook, I don't know, it was with the varsity, softball team, that, they had to do the fundraisers because the school didn't have any money to help them.
Yeah,
We did, but, and they got their money, but
yeah.
makes it seem like we're broke.
No, and Ms. Briones did, talk to us about that, and we did talk to the staff about that as well. We are not broke, we have money.
The money, but
Yes.
have to,
So, yeah, but we have addressed it with them.
Right, and I met with the principals and I met with Coach Battle as well. We have to be cautious about what we communicate because no, the district is not broke. Yes, we can afford every venture that we take on, we can afford. But the district has to be judicious when it comes to expenditures at this moment, so and one of my conversation with the principals is, if you're going to have a fundraiser, you need to know what your objective is, so that if you're raising funds for a device or an equipment that is not essential for the game, and it's a want more than it is a need, then that's where we have to have conversations. Because right now, we want to make sure that the students have what they need to participate, uniforms, shoes, of course, travel expenses and all of that. But if it's on a wish list, then we then go through boosters. We then ask the coaches to go through boosters and see if they can purchase that through the boosters. But the boosters also have to be equitable, because they have to, they raise funds and they assist all sports. But if it's a wish list and you want to fundraise, then fundraise it, but fundraise with that communication in mind, that it's something that we want for the team, because the piece of equipment is now has been made UIL eligible and we want it. But do we need it? Is there another way that we can communicate with students? So those conversations we need to be very careful with, because and I've been very clear with admin, is if it's a purchase that is required for the sport, it should come out of budget. You should bring it to budget. But because we are being very judicious in what we approve, sometimes it's easier to just get it through fundraising, because they don't want to go through the red tape of getting something approved. But it should go through the red tape. It should come to us, long process. If it's a need of the sport, or if it's band, or any of the campuses that are raising funds, well in advance, so you submit your request in a timely manner so that the district can then consider whether or not the purchase is going forward.
Does the athletic booster club help you guys, or the band booster club?
Yes,
You can go to both,
they do, yeah.
both of them?
Yeah, we have a band and athletic booster.
it's good because, I mean,
Ms. Briones, there's a lot of outside fundraisers going on. So, I mean, I know we have to be careful about that. I mean, there's a lot of money exchanging hands. And for UIL, make sure we don't get in trouble. Does that ultimately go through the student activity fund when you have a count of it? Or they just give it?
The boosters goes into the booster accounts. The student activity accounts, yes, they go into the district's activity accounts.
and my understanding is like in sports, like, they have to come through you, and you approve it, like for the.
Yes, even their fundraisers have to
The
be. approved by us,
fundraisers,
yes.
and then you approve it and everything, and they have to explain, justify it. Any more questions?
Isn't 16 pretty excessive? It's a lot of cheerleaders, no?
More cheer,
More joy.
more joy, they're spreading.
Softball and the bats and the balls
How
are
did we
very
get up to
expensive.
16? I thought it was like 8.
I don't know.
We've been at 16 in the past.
We've been at
And then
We're
we cut
up.
down.
Was it 15 before the?
I haven't kept up with the numbers of cheerleaders.
There were more,
Last year, I think there was
They
50.
ask for competition to have.
there were more cheerleaders than football.
To do their, I mean,
A
they're,
lot of cheerleaders.
yep.
Well, I was just curious.
Any other questions? And now, Mr.
Recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the CCISD cheerleader constitution as presented by Ms. Puente.
we have a,
I mean, it's for review, but
yeah.
it's an action
Yeah,
item
we're
here.
gonna, and then you can meet together, is there anything you all want to change, maybe just, motion? Anybody? Motion by Gabriel Espinosa, second. Second by Cruz Mata, questions, concern, all in favor? Abstention, you vote in favor? You can vote in favor.
no sé, I don't know really, but yeah.
No, I mean, it's not for her only, it's for the,
We're just a.
Cheerleading, right?
It's a constitution.
so, motion
Thank you,
passes.
Rena.
Thank you, Ms. Mathey.
11, informational discussion, superintendent report, district enrollment, number 1, Mr. Onez.
So as requested, what we did was we gave you a comparison of where we were last year relative to this year. So as of this same time last year, we had taught 95 days for both years. In 2024, at this time last year, we were at a 90.7. In 2025, we are at a 91.5%. So we're higher this year than we were last year.
One thing that I was gonna recommend, because I hear it from parents and all those things, I mean, we're going into March, April, May. And some parents that have kids that rarely missed, I mean, they get a call and maybe we need to focus on the kids
The
that
chronic
are. On
absenteeism.
the chronic absences in the next 3 months, because I mean, I know sometimes I get called on my grandson, I mean, why don't, and he's not gonna miss school unless, I mean, and I think it's for all the athletics and any, I think the bands have all
Student events.
things. Maybe on the ones that, if you can, the principals can meet with the twin officer attendants and kind of focus on those kids. We need to drag them into school somehow. Questions? Okay, ADA report.
That was it.
That was it. Okay, 3, TA on-site visit, Benito Juarez Elementary
Mrs.
School.
Ravasso, will you come up to the podium? But I'll go ahead and, just in case there are any questions, it's informational. We do have a TA on-site visit scheduled for Benito Juarez on Thursday, February the 13th. Mrs. Garcia is not here. She's the DCSI. She will be the district representative at Benito Juarez. I believe that we received notice about the TA on-site visit about a month and a half ago. And they have been meeting, the TA specialist that is assigned to Benito Juarez has been meeting with both Mrs. Garcia and Ms. Rabazo trying to coordinate the visit. They'll be here for half day. They'll visit several classrooms. We've selected 8 classrooms for classroom observations. We did meet with the team today, wanting to make sure that we are ready for the on-site visit, which we certainly are, and the staff feels very confident that they're going to ace the on-site visit. This is part of the comprehensive process. We did report to you all last year that Benito Juarez and high school were both under continuous improvement, under school improvement. This is TA comes back a year after to see how students are performing. They have access to all of our data, all of our reports. And so we're ready for Thursday. Dalia, is there anything that you would like to share?
No, just that we're looking forward to the feedback so that we can continue to grow and are excited about this opportunity to have TA, come and hopefully spotlight some of the positives and help us grow where we need to. So, yeah, we're seeing it as a very positive thing, and our teachers are ready.
And basically, that's what they come for. I mean, I know back then when I was a principal, it was a got you, pero después they put a program together where administrators could travel with TA. I don't know how many of us, I traveled for about 10 years to Montrose, and it's about helping your teachers, giving you ideas and this and that. So tell your teachers, not to be,
They're pretty
nervous about it.
We're very confident this morning.
it's helping.
This afternoon, I'm sorry.
And I'm looking forward to calibrating with them too.
But they come to it's based on.
And they're here to support us.
Yeah.
They're here to support the district, the campuses, the teachers, programs, if it's a programmatic issue.
They'll tell you when they go. Time to. Any questions for?
Thank you, Dalia. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, informational items, there's a couple of, this one,
These are under first reading, so you all have the policy manual update, it's a review. The manual is already been edited for you. These are, if you have any questions or concerns about some of the revisions that have been proposed by TASB, please let us know. Robert will be your contact person for policies. Robert, are we looking at anything specific? Is there a policy that could be of question?
No, major things is, that I saw, was, the deletion of a lot of the policies is taking away the responsibility from a superintendent's designee and putting it solely on superintendent. That's one of the major, things that I discovered. And then also, on DH local, one of the major things is coming up again. It's something that we're dealing with as we change into e-cigarettes. Another big issue that came up a couple of times, employees with e-cigarettes, how will we handle an employee with an e-cigarette, and so on. But a lot of the major things that I saw were putting the responsibility solely on the superintendent with financial and local policies.
Mm-hmm.
How many readings are we gonna have on this?
We can approve at second.
Second reading. Okay, Robert, so about second reading, give us the information, the package like that.
We saw
I'm gonna be able to read.
We saw that. But this is first reading. And again, I think it was only 6 policies that are showing up right now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Robert.
That's it, right? Number 13, I need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Sammy.
Okay.
Espinosa. Mata, second. Questions, concerns? All in favor? Thank you.
Everybody show up tomorrow, Pleasanton, 6 o'clock. Or else your stipend will.
Recording stopped.
Bobby show. Bobby shows